Hey, Joe here. Welcome aboard. Let's go ahead and talk about LightCoin. So for those folks that have been keeping up with the news, you're aware that LightCoin is on a tear. It is likely going to be on a tear. There may be some plateaus here and there, but it'll go up and up and up. It was just barely at, I think it hit 44 today. Last I checked about half an hour ago, it was about 40, it was 42.40. So over 1 week, it's up over 30%. Not a bad payday. So my whole take on it is take it while I can. Good stuff. Let's continue. So when we go over to CoinBase, now for those folks not familiar with CoinBase, Coinbase is an exchange, US-based exchange, clearly the best and easiest to use exchange in the US. As far as easy use to the masses. Now again, there's plenty of others that are more cryptic to use, take a little bit more technical skills, but again, Coinbase is again, they appeal to the mass market. And so to have a currency like LightCoin on Coinbase when they only have 3, this is a big deal, I think. So as you see here, it's up over 30%. This is great news. So what are the reasons I think LightCoin rocks? Why is it really doing so well? Now I like to, before I go through the top 5 reasons, I like to compare LightCoin to basically silver, and Bitcoin is essentially the gold. And for those folks that do precious metals investing, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, again, this is sort of the common references that you would hear in the industry. So Litecoin is sort of the silver of the altcoins out there, and for good reason. The number one reason I really think Litecoin has some great potential is going to be the man Charles Lee. He is in the house. He is the reason Litecoin is successful. Now remember, for those folks that don't know who Charles Lee, let me take a minute to dive into this this legend essentially. So Charles Lee, he graduated from MIT, and he went over to the West Coast, and he basically started working for Google. And during his time at Google, he did a lot of development, a lot of technical leadership, etc. And he started, and he was also familiar with Bitcoin, and I guess did some projects along on the Bitcoin blockchain as well. So he really knew the internals of Bitcoin pretty well, better than anyone in a lot of cases. And one of the things that I found interesting was that he basically said, one of the things that he didn't really, totally care too much about Bitcoin, or really thought it was inefficient, especially like when the processing the overhead with Bitcoin. So he basically looked at ways of optimizing the blockchain. And so that was sort of his initial thoughts from reading about him and hearing some of his conferences in the past. There's some other reasons too, of course, a lot of good reasons as well. But for an altcoin to have the founder basically say, you know what, he just left Coinbase. So for those folks that don't know, he went from Google to Coinbase. So before I get too far ahead, so you have a legend who worked at Google. Now he just is wrapping up his time at Coinbase, and now he's on board full time working on the Litecoin project, essentially, given his time volunteering. So here's a guy that doesn't need to work anymore, and he's doing this because he enjoys it. He really believes in it. So this is a good sign, I think. So when you have an altcoin with a true leader, with a leader that, if you look into his history, he's a pretty modest guy. So you know he's going to do the right thing. Whereas some other cryptocurrencies, I won't mention some of those per se, where, for example, with LightCoin, he didn't believe in sort of the pre-mining gimmicks and the pre-minting of coins and all these other gimmicks that a lot of the other cryptos did, so that like the founders could get rich. And he looked at things a little differently. So that was one of the things that impressed me with him. So let's talk about number 2. China last week, just barely last week, lifted some of the currency controls for some of their exchanges. And so this is a big deal. So I think that's one of the reasons it jumped as well. When you look at like the Bitcoin traffic, you can definitely tell it went up pretty good in the last few days. And I'll leave the reference for the link for you to go back and actually look at the Bitcoin traffic. It's pretty cool to see how the Bitcoins go around the globe and how they're flowing. It's pretty fascinating. So that's number 2. So I actually do believe China will implement more currency controls. That's pretty much, if you just read to anyone in the financial know, they pretty much think it's just a matter of time. Number 3, let me go ahead and speed this up for you. LightCoin is definitely faster. For example, today I've been using Genesis mining. And so Genesis mining gives you the ability to pay for your mining services with them in different altcoins. Some of those are Dash, some of the Dash, Bitcoin, Litecoin, for example. I think there's 1 or 2 others. And then also you can use a credit card as well. But one of the things that I found because I've been typically using Bitcoin, and I decided, well, I'll cash in a few of my Litecoin. And so I did that, and it was so fast. It was like night and day. Because when you send a Bitcoin, it's sort of like for those folks in the networking world, you have the TCP protocol and you have the UDP protocol, where UDP you just send something and you just hope it gets there. Whereas if you have acknowledgement, you know it got there. Sort of like Bitcoin, sort of like that. You know when you send it, it'll probably get there. You just don't have an idea when. It could be a minute, it could be 2 hours, it could be 10 hours. I've had one transaction about 3 weeks ago. It took literally 6 hours for it to get to the receiver. It was really shocking. But again, those are challenges that Bitcoin has. Now, Litecoin is remarkably fast compared to Bitcoin. No argument there. Anybody in the know can easily let you know that's definitely true. Segwit just happened also, and so Segwit is segregated witness. Basically, it's a way to make the blockchain more efficient. Whereas, for example, you have the keys, and do you need to send a new key every time you're sending something in the blockchain? No. It's a more efficient manner to utilize a blockchain. But we'll again, that's for another discussion. Number 4, CoinBase. So again, if it's on CoinBase, this is a good sign. I sort of touched on that earlier. Fiat currency devaluation. So you could thank our governments for helping everybody out here to sort of make you not want to be banking in a lot of ways. And I sort of mean that. The reality is if things do start hitting the fan, we're going to see currency controls. We're going to definitely see bail-ins and bailouts and all those cool terms that are already in the House and Senate bills that have already passed, that were signed into law just in the U.S. But this has already happened. Again, it could definitely happen here. Wouldn't be a surprise. So these are just some of the reasons. So you could expect the governments to devalue their currency. You could definitely expect currency controls for some other countries. These are reasons why cryptos will only grow. So with that said, I want to keep this under 10 minutes, and I did. So I want to thank everyone for joining. And please do check out my new course on LightCoin on blockgeeks.com. That'll be released this week, as well as on Udemy. Thank you again. Happy coining, and I'll be checking in with you in a couple days and talk about Genesis mining. Have a great day.